Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. One day after the first round of the 2021 NFL Draft, and we are pretty hyped about it. I think we ended up walking away with some astronomical value. We ended up trading with the Chicago Bears, which nobody expected, all the way back to 20, where we landed Kadarius Toney. And we want to kind of give our grade on that, our take on that afterwards, and really, break down why this was a good move for us, because we didn't just get Kadarius Toney, guys. We got a first-round pick next year, a fourth-round pick next year, and a fifth-round pick this year. And that value right there is what Gettleman would call fleeced. We fleeced the Bears. They got their quarterback, but we fleeced the Bears. And we got a ton of value. And, when you compare it to teams like Pittsburgh, who did something similar in 2019, all they got was like a third-round pick or maybe a third and a fifth-round pick out of it. We got a first, a fifth, and a fourth-round pick out of it. And next year, we put ourselves in a really good position with Daniel Jones and stuff, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Before we dive into this, Anthony, how you feeling? How you doing after the first round of the draft?
Dude, I'm elated, all right? The Giants, first of all, I don't think we necessarily fleeced the Bears because the Bears got their quarterback, going to put that out there, but the Giants got tremendous value from that trade. You guys know I was a huge proponent of trading down. I would say weekly, maybe even daily at some points. The Giants should trade down this year. This is a year, like every year, where they should try to trade down. This would be a perfect opportunity to do it, especially because this was such a rich quarterback class. I kept saying if there was a quarterback on the board that was really highly sought after, the Giants should trade down with a quarterback-needy team. They did it, and I'm so happy that they did it because they got so much value out of this. A first-round pick next year, that is huge for the Giants, okay? You can go into next year feeling really, really good about your position this year because we got a great player in round one and we had a great free agency period, and you can feel really good about your future in case things don't go our way this year or in case things do go our way, but still we want to have an even brighter future. We got an extra first-round pick. That's amazing. We have an extra pick later on in this year's draft, which is great. There's a lot of nice mid-round pieces in this year's draft that the Giants can now target. I think this was a tremendous trade for them. I'm really, really excited. Shout out everyone who was in the live stream, got to watch us react to it live. You all know we were really, really excited and happy with it. And we still are. The more and more I break down Kadarius Toney and I dive into his film, which I already did a while ago, but the more I do it now and the more I really try to assess his strengths and weaknesses, I think that the Giants actually filled a serious need with this, and I think that he's going to be a tremendous player for them.
Yeah, you know what? Yesterday was kind of just a roller coaster of emotions, and I was going through, a very interesting range on the spectrum of emotions, from anger to happiness to confusion to interest. And I'll tell you what, with Kadarius Toney, when he was picked, I was like, what? And then I was like, ooh, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it. And I was like, okay, this makes sense now. With this trade back, obviously the Giants are all in on Daniel Jones. It's very obvious that they are all in on Daniel Jones, but what they did with this trade back was phenomenal because they also put themselves in a position with contingency plan in case DJ doesn't take that step forward that they need him to. And they don't have to necessarily hit the restart button. They can draft a quarterback next year. They have the ammo to move up and do it if they want to. The Bears, who have an absolutely unbelievably difficult schedule next season, could end up being a middling team or a terrible team. Even if they land in the 15 range, the Giants, let's say, have the 15th and 20th overall pick. You can pair those together and move up and get your quarterback if you wanted to. Obviously it might take a little bit more, but the Giants have a phenomenal, draft next year that they can say, Daniel Jones, no worries. We'll move on from DJ. We'll trade him like a Sam Darnold type of thing, get maybe a late round pick. Maybe we'll just keep him and see, let him battle it out with a new rookie quarterback. If he doesn't play well, God forbid, this is worst case scenario. They can go and get another quarterback. There's going to be a couple really good ones in this upcoming draft class, so I'm excited about that. I think Matt Corral, Howell, I think, from UNC. There's a couple of really talented guys. There's some really great pass rushers, too. Next year's pass rush class is supposed to be phenomenal. They've got it out of Oregon, Thibodeau, who apparently is sick, and they have a couple of really talented guys aside from him. So the Giants do have some value next season. They can manage to get a couple of great players. And in addition to that, even if Daniel Jones pans out, and that's what we're all hoping, he does have a fantastic 2021 season. They just built a new offense around him with Kadarius Toney now. You got Kenny Galladay, Saquon's coming back, Evan Ingram, Kyle Rudolph, Darius Slayton, John Ross, CJ Board, Dante Pettis. You got a pretty solid grouping of players there and playmakers, head and shoulders above what we had last year. If he does pan out, and what we hope he does, the Giants now have 2 first-round picks to go and plug any holes that are on this team and really, maybe contend for a Super Bowl in the next 2 years or so, which is what we hope. And I think, right now our biggest issues are the offensive line. We're going to talk about that. in a little bit, and edge rusher. Those are the two positions that we really need to fix. I think the linebackers were okay. We're sturdy. We could use a guy to pair with Blake Martinez, but it's not a pressing need, I would say. Our cornerbacks are great. Our secondary is great. Our interior defensive line is great. Running backs are fine. Wide receivers are fine. Tight ends are fine. Tackles, I'm confident in our tackles. Center, fine. Left guard, Will Hernandez. We'll see where that goes. Right guard's the major hole. But Anthony, what is your take on this draft class in terms of giving it a grade? If you were to give the first round a grade, including Kadarius Toney and the trade back, what would you give it?
Okay, so before I get into my grade of this first round, I'm going to say your analysis on the first round pick that we gained from Chicago is perfect to me. You were the first one that I heard point out the fact that this really gave the Giants a safety net next year for Daniel Jones. Okay, if Daniel Jones bottoms out, now they have an extra pick, the capital to move up and get a top-tier quarterback next year. They have that now. Okay, now let's say that that's not even what happens. Let's say that Daniel Jones actually does succeed. Well, now you just have an extra first-round pick to get extra talent on this team and keep building a championship-caliber roster. So I think that's great analysis, and I think that's really what the Giants probably had in mind. You have insurance for the future, but you also have flexibility to get even more talented players in the future. I love the trade. The trade gets an A+ from me. Okay, the Giants moved down 9 spots and still snagged a really solid player. I think that the Giants might have maybe gotten a guy who was a second-round grade in most people's books. Most people viewed him as a second-round player. But what's the difference if you're getting a high second round and you're drafting him in the late first round, right? Like a high second round player. Kadarius Toney fills a huge need for the Giants. I'm going to give that pick a B+. I'm not going to give it an A+ because I think that, he wasn't necessarily the best receiver on my board at that time, but here's the reason why they drafted him and why he made so much sense for the Giants. Teams with the fewest yards after catch per reception by wide receivers last season. The Giants ranked dead last 32.0 with 3.0 yards after catch per reception. Now that's abysmal. 3 yards after catch. That's really, really bad. Kadarius Toney is by far the best tackle breaker, the best yards after catch guy in this draft class. The Giants just found the exact guy that they needed to fix one of their biggest weaknesses on offense. Ball in their hands. Kenny Golladay isn't the guy to make the yards after catch. They didn't fix that need with Kenny Golladay. They fixed the possession receiver, the big body, the big red zone threat 50-50 ball. That's what they got with Kenny Golladay. Now with Kadarius Toney, they got the guy who takes a screen pass 50 yards to the house, takes a slant pass 50 yards to the house, adds those yards after catch. What Golden Tate gave them in 2019, but then he regressed and couldn't do it in 2020. Now they have it with Kadarius Toney, and they have it in an extreme way because this guy is a human joystick. He's impossible to tackle, and he will make your jaw drop with the plays that he makes in the open field. I love this pick for the Giants, and I love, love, love the trade that they just made. A+ trade, B+ pick, but I do think that this is a guy that really fits their need and is going to be a tremendous player for them. I think Kadarius Toney was really underrated. I was really high on him in this pre-draft process. I thought that he was phenomenal, and I really think that he's an underrated route runner with the skills and tools to become an elite route runner one day. I think right now he's a really good route runner. People aren't giving him that kind of credit, but he is a really good route runner, and he has the skills to become an elite one. Now, he doesn't have those elite hands, but his hands are good. He has good hands. He only had 3 drops on 150 targets last year. So he's got good hands, he's got good routes, he's got insane playmaking ability after the catch. What more can you ask for the Giants, who desperately needed a guy with speed and playmaking ability after the catch? They got it. This is going to be huge for them, and I think that this is going to take the Giants' offense to another level.
You know what? When you get to pick 15 and beyond, it really is a crapshoot. You don't always know what you're getting. We got a player at 20 who, if he was on Kansas City, we'd be so jealous. You know what I mean? Like, imagine Kadarius Toney, his playmaking ability in the short yardage spatial situations, and really ability to make players miss in the open field. Imagine him on Kansas City with Patrick Mahomes. I know that's not our situation right now, but just imagine that and being like, that kid's going to be special. He's going to be sick. And I know the Ravens were heavily invested in him. They had been researching him and talking to him frequently. I actually had him mocked to Green Bay, who I thought he would have been sick with Aaron Rodgers. I had him also mocked to New Orleans, who I think he would have been great with them as well. There's no way he was getting out of the first round, guys. I see people saying he would have been a second round pick. He would have been there at 42. That is not true. It's just not true. Some say Elijah Moore maybe, but I think Kadarius Toney was not getting out of the first round. I think he was As good a pick as any at 20. You could have went with, I don't know. You could have went with Tevin Jenkins, who's still on the board. You could have went with, a bunch of other players who might, but who knows? Who knows? Tevin Jenkins is still on the board right now. Clearly, there was concerns with something in his game. And Kadarius Toney, Azeez Ojulari, he's dropping like a weight. So we'll see if he gets to 42 right now too. I'm excited about this pick. I'm not going to say you're making any assumptions. I'll say this: he does have weaknesses, right? Like any player does. He does have weaknesses. Anthony pointed out sometimes he catches with his body a little bit too much. Sometimes he doesn't use his hands appropriately. But I think that doesn't contribute to his drops. 3 drops over 150 targets doesn't really scream a deficiency to me. Some people say he fumbles. He fumbled the ball twice in like 2 years. That doesn't scream a deficiency to me. This guy Ezekiel Elliott fumbled twice a game last year. So I don't see why people are so down on Kadarius Toney, especially because other people are saying he's Sterling Shepard 2.0, he's Percy Harvin, he's Tavon Austin. It's absolute BS, false. And I'll tell you why. Tavon Austin was 5'8", 175 pounds. Kadarius Toney is 6 foot, 195 pounds. Vastly different size differentials. In fact, he and this is what Anthony pointed out before the podcast, he actually closely mirrors OBJ in terms of a lot of his athletic attributes. Not playmaking, not route running, not, elite level player type OBJ, but with his athletic attributes in terms of like broad jump, 4-yard dash, like those type of things, he actually matches up pretty closely with OBJ. So we know he's a superior athlete, and we also know the guy does not go down on first contact. He can take hits. His center of gravity for a pretty thin, like kind of smaller guy. I mean, he's not that small. He's almost 200 pounds, 6 feet. His center of gravity is insane. I've seen him burst through tacklers, like 4 or 5 tacklers, and somehow stand up and keep going. He has insane playmaking ability. He doesn't go down on first contact, and he can stop on a dime. You see him, his 0 to 60, he's a Ferrari. You know what I mean? He's not, like Sterling Shepard is a Mazda when he's 0 to 60, but he's got that really good, like German, like Audi control. He's really good controlling with the route running. But Kadarius Toney, he was a little bit more jittery, a little bit more jittery, like a smart car, maybe like a Beetle or a Bug. He's very jittery, he's like boo 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 boo. But he has that Ferrari speed. He's got the Ferrari 0 to 60. And that's what I like about him. He can make those quick turns. He can go around. He's really, really, really athletic and agile. The lateral quickness is phenomenal. People are already calling him the human joystick. I think he also contributes on special teams too, Anthony. How do you see him contributing right off the bat, for the Giants day one as not just a receiver, but also maybe a special teams specialist?
Day one, I think he contributes on special teams, and I think he's instantly the best return guy that we have. But first, before I discuss that anymore, I want to get into a couple things that you said. Regarding the Odell Beckham Jr. comparisons, right? So I did make that comparison live on the live stream last night when we were watching it all together with you fans. I said, this is a guy who compares to Odell Beckham Jr. Then a few hours later, NFL Research, the official account, tweeted, Kadarius Toney, 20th overall by the Giants, height 5'11 and 5'8". Odell Beckham Jr. was 5'11 and 1/4, so same height, maybe a little bit taller. Weight, Odell was 198. Kadarius Toney is 193. 40-yard dash, Odell ran a 4.43. Toney ran a 4.37. Odell's vertical was 38.5 inches. Toney's was 39.5 inches. Body shape, athleticism, that kind of stuff, identical. He actually does have the exact build of Odell Beckham Jr. So when you watch him play and you see him take a slant to the house and you say, oh, that looked like Odell. Well, it probably does look exactly like Odell because they are the exact same size and shape and weight and speed. So that's why I see those comparisons totally. Not saying it's a one-to-one comparison in terms of their playing style and talent, but I do think there are similarities in their games, which I discussed on the live stream as well. And then regarding Elijah Moore, who you also mentioned, I really liked Elijah Moore. He was my WR5 in this class. I thought that he was the best receiver after Bateman and the top 3 elite guys, right? The reason I had Elijah Moore there was because he was such a great slot receiver. And the Giants did just draft a slot receiver who was really great. But the reason that I think Kadarius Toney is a better fit with the Giants than Elijah Moore would have been is because Kadarius Toney does so much after the catch. He is the best in the class after the catch. And like I mentioned earlier, those statistics, Giants average 3 yards after catch per reception. They need more from that. They need more guys. They need more talent after the catch. And now they got it with Kadarius Toney. So I think you can look at those guys on the same plane, right? Same talent level, but who's the better fit for what the Giants need? And it's Kadarius Toney, no question. And of course I said Rashad Bateman, he was my number 3 wide receiver in this class. I was really high on Rashad Bateman. Would I have preferred him there? Maybe, but the reason why I'm okay with not getting him and getting Kadarius Toney instead, same thing. Rashad Bateman is not giving you that after the catch ability. Bateman is a really good route runner. He's really solid and polished in that regard, has a great release package. He'll get open and separate downfield because of good routes. Kadarius Toney will do that too, not to the same extent. He's not the route runner that Bateman is. I thought Bateman was arguably the best route runner in this class. But Bateman doesn't have that after the catch ability. Again, Kadarius Toney was the best in this class after the catch. That's why I love this pick. I think that it really does fill a huge need for the Giants offense. The Giants offense has upgraded itself significantly this offseason, but I think that they really still lacked that after the catch ability. Now they have it, and they have the best guy to do it. So I love this pick. I think Kadarius Toney is perfect. And when you talk about his tackle breaking ability, talk about him being a human joystick, his ball carrier vision, the way he reads the field while he's running, all of that stuff translates perfectly to being a top-tier punt returner from day one off the bat. I think the Giants really did get a really, really good selection here with Kadarius Toney. Instant contributor on special teams, and I think that he's going to dominate out of the slot for the Giants day one.
I agree. I think they're going to use him appropriately, and he has a lot of translatable traits to the NFL. When you're comparing him to NFL athletes, he's got the burst, he's got the stop and go. He is very, very just refined as an athlete, and he has some qualities that you simply can't teach. Which is what I like about him. They got a player that the weaknesses that he does have, they can iron out. But he has the athletic ability that you simply can't teach. You're born with this stuff. Like his genetics, man, he gift from the football gods with Kadarius Toney's athleticism. But I think, for the most part, I think that he's going to be a phenomenal player for the Giants. I'm not going to make any negative assumptions about him day one because for the most part, I'm going to remain positive. I think it was a great selection based on the trade value. And when you look at the Bears' schedule, they might only win 2 out of 8 games in that tough that tough division that they're in already. So the Giants might end up with a top pick with that Bears first-round pick, and they don't really have an offensive line. They didn't really do anything to address the offensive line. If they have a couple injuries there, Justin Fields is going to have himself a tough rookie season. So we'll see what happens in Chicago. We could end up being blessed with a really nice pick next year, and if that is the case, you get Kadarius Toney, a top 10, let's say, first-round pick, and 2 other selections you can use. Maybe they trade one in to try and move up and get a guy that they want in the upcoming second round today. So I'm excited to see what happens. I think I'm going to give this an A-, when considering the draft value. But Anthony, before we, wrap this segment of the podcast up, let's talk about day 2 for a little bit, the players that we're looking at and, who we think the Giants could be targeting. I think, there's a lot of great talent still on the board. You got JOK out of Notre Dame. You got Creed Humphrey out of Oklahoma. You have Landon Dickerson, I'm not that high on based on the injuries, out of Alabama. When he's healthy, the guy's a stud, but the injuries scare me. Azeez Ojulari out of Georgia, who has knee issues, but, is dropping. So who are you looking at right now as a guy you'd be like, I would love to have on the Giants in day 2?
All right, you guys all know I'm really high on Azeez Ojulari. I did do a film breakdown on him. I think that he's a really talented speed rusher with a lot of bend around the edge, and he does have a really nice cross-chop pass rush move that I think he utilizes really well. Now, he doesn't have many counters, and he doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves, but he has that one, and he does have the dip and rip because he is a really good speed rusher with a lot of bend. There's a concern, though. For bendy pass rushers, what you need is knee flexibility. He has a bad knee. So that kind of makes me think, my fear with Azeez Ojulari is if he keeps bending that knee around the edge, he could bend it until it breaks if it's already a bad knee. If that's what the medical report is saying, that he has a bad knee, that is going to affect his efficiency as a speed rusher, and he is a speed rusher. So there is a lot of concern with Azeez Ojulari. If you take him in the second round, you're banking on the fact that he stays healthy, which is similar to what we were saying with Jalen Phillips, even though he was a far superior talent with pass rushing ability. But I do like Azeez Ojulari a lot. He is one of my top targets today regardless. I don't think he actually makes it to us. I think the Jets sitting right there are going to take him. But maybe not. Maybe he does fall to us. Another guy I'm looking at, a lot of you might be surprised by this because I've definitely given Dave Gettleman criticism in the past for his endless fetish of interior defensive linemen. I think that Christian Barmore is a perfect fit for the Giants on day 2. If he ends up falling to us, I think the Giants are going to sprint in. It makes a lot of sense because of the Alabama connections to Joe Judge and because of the interior defensive line fetish that Dave Gettleman has. Christian Barmore is a beast. He's ginormous, he's thick, he's bulky, and he can actually rush the passer really well for an interior defensive lineman. Plus, he's a good run defender. The Giants just lost Alvin Tomlinson. That was their nose tackle. What better way to replace their former second-round Alabama nose tackle than getting a new second round Alabama nose tackle who was actually considered to be a first round talent and the superior prospect to what Dalvin Tomlinson was coming out of college. I think Christian Barmore makes a lot of sense. Now, also Tevin Jenkins makes a lot of sense, okay? Out of Oklahoma State University, this is a guy that I really like. If you ever watch Brett Coleman on YouTube, he did a really good breakdown on Tevin Jenkins. Tevin Jenkins is a mean man. Okay, that dude mauls. He just bulldozes people, throws pancakes out left and right. Plays right tackle as well. Giants probably don't want to draft a left tackle, but they'll definitely consider drafting a right tackle. And this is a really, really solid right tackle that's still on the board. I really thought that he should have went in the first round. I thought that he would have went in the top 20 to 25 picks. He didn't. He's still on the board in the second round. If he falls to the Giants, I'm not the biggest guy that says we got to get a tackle, and I really don't think we need to get a tackle because I'm really high on Matt Parrott. But if Tevin Jenkins is on the board, I'm probably drafting him. I don't think I can say no to that because this is a guy I thought was justified at pick 20. And if he's there at 42, I mean, it's hard to say no to that. This is a really, really good prospect. So he's definitely one of my top targets as well. A few more, Creed Humphrey, interior offensive lineman. I know he played center. I think he can play guard. Landon Dickerson's not high on my board because of the injuries. Wyatt Davis is still high on my board because of his pass protection. Another interior offensive lineman. There's a lot of choices for the Giants on day 2, especially at the top of the second round. Really excited for this. You can even look at Aleem McNeil, our guy, Dream McNeil, in the second or third round, depending on where he starts to fall if they don't go Barmore. A lot of options out there, a lot of talent, even some good cornerback talent in the third round. I think the Giants are probably set up in a position to get another really good player and really set up to have a round 1 and round 2 A+ draft.
I agree, man. I think this second round is going to be pretty interesting. I actually really like Christian Barmore. I know people want the offensive line. I know pass rusher, but Barmore is a beast. If he fell to 42, I know Dave Gettleman probably wouldn't be able to pass up on him. I know we did get what's his name? What was his name from Detroit? Oh, I'm blanking on his name. You know what I'm talking about. Sheldon Rankins? No, I'm bugging.
Oh, Danny Shelton.
Danny Shelton. We got Danny Shelton. We still have Austin Johnson. I don't think they would go Barmore, but he's a next level. I don't know if you could pass on him type of guy.
I think they would go for him.
I mean, he fits the Gettleman mold. Yeah, the Alabama connection, he fits the mold perfectly for what Gettleman likes on the interior defensive line. He would really be able to push the interior. I think if it was between Aziz and Barmore, they'd go Aziz. But Barmore, man, he's legit. The guy is a big boy. He's a big boy. And he can rush the passer from the A-gap and that nose tackle position. He's better than Dalvin Tomlinson. It's crazy to say. He can stop the run just as well, and that guy can rush the passer even better. He soaks up double teams. He's a freaking monster. So, and he's fast. He's really quick and fast for how big he is. Really top-heavy lad. But I like Barmore. I think, for Aziz has the knee issues, which kind of scare me. I think he actually might drop further than you think. Joseph Asai is another guy that I'd have an eye on. He might drop a little bit, maybe to the 50s. But then you have Wyatt Davis, who I see people actually having at 76 now. Someone said that, so that would be a steal at 76. Then obviously you have Creed Humphrey, Landon Dickerson, who the Giants apparently love Landon Dickerson. Injuries scare me, so I'm not sure I'd go that route. But we'll see, guys. Today we'll be doing another live stream for the second and third rounds of the draft, so I'm excited about that. To see what they do, really, really excited, my friends. Thank you for joining. If you were on the live stream yesterday, it means a lot to us. And hopefully you enjoy the stream today. Do a couple other giveaway of the t-shirts and whatnot, so I'm excited about that. But anything else we got? I think we have my overall grades A-. We have a lot of great players on the board, and I'm excited. And make sure to subscribe below on YouTube and turn on notifications for Apple and Spotify if you're listening on those channels. Much love as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.